Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L. The sun came up, we made it on the internet. I hope you continue to make it through your day. Today I'm bringing you a Hero Academia video, specifically the manga arc review for the Class War arc in the Hero Academia manga. So suffice to say, if you're an anime only viewer, you shouldn't be looking at this video. Get out of here. This is not the place for you. This is just for the people who want to talk about the manga and specifically the arc that we covered, I guess a while back now. It's been a bit. Okay, so here's how I'm planning to break down this video. We're going to go through what this arc introduced or what it progressed, effectively saying why is this arc good. We will then move into talking about the structure of this arc, what was its role in the bigger story of Hero Academia, and what other little things, what is it doing. We'll mention any few little distinctions and then we'll just go into the conclusions. So first off, what did this arc introduce into the story of Hero Academia, or what did it progress? This is effectively the argument for why I think this arc is good, because I think when you quantify the things that were introduced in this arc, you can make the case, yes, this is good based on all the content that we got. And the reason why I'm focusing this on the question of why was this good is because I've just seen a few comments saying that they did not find this arc to be good. They call this arc bad, and that's too general of a statement. This arc is bad. Like, why is it bad? So here we're going to go into why it's good, and then we'll also talk a little bit about this in the structure point. But let's just quantify. When you look at what ended up happening in this arc, we actually end up getting quite a lot for quite a lot of characters. Here are some of the characters that had their storylines furthered or even some storylines started. Izuku. We saw what happened to Izuku. He had quite a bit of a ride for this arc. He had a moment of weakness. He had a moment of triumph. He discovered more about his quirk. He got furthered along his destiny when it comes to the whole conflict between All for One and One for All. Izuku got a lot in this arc, but he's the main character. That's to be expected. Ochako also got a lot. She played a pivotal role, but in terms of a personal storyline, she started down a road of questioning, what happens to heroes who need help? How do we help heroes? That will most likely be something that will be called upon in the future. Ida continued along his characterization and continued along his storyline of being a hero. Ida at this point is now becoming a hero who has different qualities than Izuku, but is heroic all the same. Next up, Todoroki. Todoroki continues to have self-image problems. He continues having this problem of his association to his father, but this arc, he makes another step forward in claiming his own identity. It'll be interesting to see where he goes here. You know that this is going to be important for the future, because anything with Todoroki's development only helps him become more capable in the future. Tokoyami finally reveals what he's been doing in the background. We finally know what he did in internship. We finally know who he was with, and it establishes a relationship between him and Hawks. Why is this important? Because Hawks is important. No doubt whatever's been established with Tokoyami here is pretty much the author investing for a bigger return whenever the Hawks storyline comes back into Hero Academia. Next up, Shinso. Shinso has been a person that we've been waiting for to come back into the story for a very long time. We had it into interviews. We saw Shinso walking around with Aizawa, and finally we got him here. We got some progression for his character, and we got a nice little look to the future. Shinso is going to be joining the hero class in the second year if we get to it. That is great. Aizawa had great moments in this story. He was more focused on Shinso, but thanks to that, we also got the inklings of a Aizawa storyline. We got to see one of Aizawa's friends, and President Mike's comments in this arc do imply that Aizawa is going to get a full storyline in the future that might be coloring or might be informing us of why he is the way he is. That's something to look forward to. Bakugo got a lot. Like, I'm not sure if you read it when you were looking at his chapter, but how often do people say that Bakugo is different? That was one of the big messages that the author wanted to give us when we had the Bakugo fight. Bakugo has changed. This arc has shown us in which ways he's changing. This arc has shown us how hyper competent he is. That was great for Bakugo. It's most likely going to play a role in the future, this degree of teamwork that he's willing to pull off when it comes to completing objectives. Monoma did a lot for this arc. He officially drew a line in the sand when it comes to his characterization. We have a pretty good sense for what he believes in. We know that his personal philosophy coincides with Shinso's personal philosophy, which allows for their friendship to bloom in this small arc. We also get to answer quite a lot of questions when it comes to Monoma's quirks, like what happens when he touches Izuku, what happens if he touches Eri, could we try and abuse Monoma's quirk to try and save Mirio? We get all the answers there. That was worthwhile, and this arc does a great job in making Monoma more than just comic relief. That's just the people who had legitimate storylines started. When you look at who got characterization, that's also really good because Class 1B needed characterization. You had Mudman. We know more about Mudman. He's a really nice guy. We got Pony. She's saying things without being told by Monoma, so she's saying things on her own volition. We get to see her personality. Tokage, we get to see her personality. That was great. The Tokage chapter, I still think was pretty awesome. Tetsu, we already had a pretty good sense of Tetsu, but it just shows us that he's doubling down on who he is, and that's worthwhile. And Ojiro has a gimmick that's officially been stabilized in this arc. We get to see people are making fun of how ordinary he is, but how effective he is as well. We get to see that. So overall, when it comes to the quantity of what we got here in terms of all these storylines, almost every chapter in this arc was furthering a storyline for a character. That's good. That's really good. All these moments that we got, all these storylines that have started or have been progressed, you know that's going to be something that pays off in the future. It's obvious with people like Izuku and Todoroki, but then you have people like Ida and Ochako whose development in this arc is definitely going to be a thing in the future. Ida with this arc has more or less stabilized as a character. We have a pretty good idea of where he's going, and that's worthwhile. Tokoyami, for sure, you know Tokoyami is going to have something to do with Hawks in the future. You know that this relationship is being developed. Which leads me into the next big point, and that is the structure of this arc. When you look at this arc, what it looks like, this is a setup arc. No matter how you look at it, yeah, there's a battle there, but a lot of these things, they're just setting up for future returns. And I think this might be why people did not like this arc that much, because week to week, you know, it's not the most exciting thing. And we also came off of the Endeavor and Hawks arc, which was like high octane suspense. Like there was a lot of things going on in that arc. It was gonna have a lot of consequences. People came out of that arc scarred. Hawks started his storyline and it was pretty intense. Like one wrong move and this guy could go down. When you look at it that way, you know, comparatively, this arc is not as exciting. But just because it's not exciting doesn't make this any less valuable. It's a setup arc. But what the author did was that he slowed down a bit to fix one of Hero Academia's bigger problems. That being that there are too many characters in Hero Academia and not enough time, well, to give them proper attention. Even within this arc, there are some characters that just kind of got left behind. But you know what? I congratulate the author for putting in as much effort as he did and giving us all the quirks and at least giving us some characterizations for some of those supporting characters in Class 1B. You guys know the joke always is that Class 1B doesn't matter, but with this arc, a lot of characters got fleshed out. For any fans of those characters, you know, they're gonna like this arc. When you look at Hero Academia as a bigger story, this arc is going to be valuable because it's a downtime where you get to further the characters that exist in this world, and that's always valuable. We don't need just life or death combat all the time. So I think when it comes to this arc, it's important to note that yes, not the most exciting thing, but it slowed down, it did more character work, and it legitimately gave us a multitude of storylines that are going to be developed in the future. Like, no doubt about that. Now, it wouldn't be an arc review without a more technical point when it came to structure, and I got a technical point for you guys. So this is a comparison to the Gentle arc. The Gentle arc was one that featured two very separate storylines, that being Gentle's goal to be an amazing villain or a famous villain, and then the school festival. With that arc, the author brought those two storylines together by using Izuku as the weld effectively. It's Izuku that interacts with Gentle, and it's Izuku that interacts with the school festival storyline. In this case, you had a situation where the One for All storyline was nicely nestled within the class battle, and the way the author made these two different storylines interact felt a lot more organic than the way he did it for the Gentle arc. There was a very organic reason as to why Shinzo was going to be important for Izuku and why Shinzo could allow Izuku to reach One for All. Compared to the Gentle arc, if you guys watched that video, you know I thought there were too many degrees of serendipity. In other words, too many coincidences had to happen. For this arc, the only coincidence that I see when I read this over is just the 1 in 5 chance of Izuku being pit against Shinzo. That was just that's it. That's the only degree of serendipity. Now we're still on talking about the more technical stuff, and we'll move into the distinctions. One thing that I want to say is that this arc was also very controversial. We all know it. It happened at chapter 213. You guys might have already seen the videos on the channel. I talked about 213 a few times. 213 is just one of those turning points where things in Hero Academia have just significantly changed. And the big thing here was that Izuku received a lot of power. He's effectively on this road to getting more power. The arc tried to the arc tried to balance it out a little bit. Like, we saw that Izuku can't use his power readily, but it's one of those things that, you know, by the end of the story, Izuku's going to be like even more overpowered than he was initially going to be. Now, personally, as time's gone on, you know, it was just a matter of time. Like, honestly, the moment that the author brought in the high ends, you needed someone like Izuku. People were going to have to keep developing their quirks. People were going to have to either get like super versatile quirks, or they were going to have to get more than one quirk. And that's effectively what we got with Izuku. So, you know, there might be that talk that maybe this is where Hero Academia jumped the shark. But for me, I think this was just a matter of time from the moment the high-end Nomu got introduced. Before that, you could have still kind of weaseled around it, but it's just the high-end Nomu presents too much of a challenge, and you need Izuku to be at this power level to be able to handle it. Or at least the threats that can come from the high-end Nomu. It would be good to have an Izuku that can deal with it. Because it's like, even if you imagine within the storyline of Hero Academia, a few years down the road, there's probably going to be way more people running around with multiple quirks. It's so likely. Another technical point that deserves a distinction, and this is kind of a negative, is there was something that was going on with the people getting reviewed. So the problem here was that certain groups of students got reviewed and certain groups didn't. For instance, Todoroki and Ida, their group never got their performance reviews. And the reason that this was unfortunate is because we were kind of expecting it. On a technical level, this is bad because when the author went into this arc, he kind of made the viewers a promise, or, you know, he gave the viewers an expectation. That was, he was going to review the students. Suyu's group got the review. I believe Izuku's group got the review. Bakugo's group got the review, but those middle groups didn't. The excuse at the time was, well, they're injured, so we'll just hold it off till later. But that later never came, or at least it hasn't come so far. And that's just, it's not the biggest flaw. It's just, I think this is a problem of there wasn't enough time to cover it. And it's just unfortunate because when it came to Todoroki and Tetsu's fight in particular, I feel like there are a lot of comments that can be had about just how dangerous that got. And it's just, it feels cheap that we didn't get it. Again, not a big deal. When it comes to the idea of, like, you know, this guy is doing this under a really tight schedule. He's already overworked. You know, when it comes to the idea, what are you going to cut out? It makes sense that you would cut out a non-important bit like a performance review. So, on a technical point, it's unfortunate that it had to happen. It's unfortunate that we never got it when other groups did get it. You know, there was an expectation of everyone was going to be treated fairly, and that wasn't the case. But it's not gonna break the bank. It's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Going into conclusions, overall, I think this arc was slow. I think it may not have been as exciting as the previous arc and the subsequent arc, but I feel it was absolutely necessary when it comes to telling the overall story of Hero Academia. The author did something really nice here for the fans in giving us so many character interactions and fleshing out a few more of the characters. I appreciate that. That's worthwhile, and I know this is going to be an investment for the future. And honestly, this is, you know, one of those last hopes with Hero Academia. There's always going to be characters that get shafted, but if the author is willing to put time aside to develop those underdeveloped characters, at the very least, it's a vote of confidence when it comes to being able to say, like, yeah, the author will do right by his characters. That's one of the big takeaways that I really take away from this particular arc. Now, this is the general manga arc review video. I'm gonna have a few more add-ons. Technically, like, we already started talking about post 213 and the future of Hero Academia, but there's a few more topics I want to cover. Like, I want to cover some Ochako topics and maybe a few other characters. I think there were a lot of great moments throughout this arc and a lot of really divisive moments between me and some commenters, and I would love to have time to just go through those again. So keep an eye out. And I'm being very careful saying that because I know, like, there's a lot of videos that I gotta produce. I'm not sure the timeline on when this is gonna come out, but till then, I hope you enjoyed the videos that do come out. And yeah, thanks for watching so much, man. Let me know what you thought down below, and till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.